Okay. So, anyways, the demo today is a Vortex bowl. This is my the second Vortex bowl I made. Hopefully you all can see this. Hang on, no, I need to share this. Um, okay, now can everybody see this? Shake your heads if you can see that. My mouse and my screen. Okay. This is my Vortex bowl. The Vortex is kind of between the base and the rim is all the Vortex area. I make these. I make a little segmented base on the bottom, and I made a segmented rim. But right now I'm going to talk about doing the whole Vortex through the middle part here. I gotta move some things around here so I can get to my screen. So there's what the inside looks like, and that's kind of where the Vortex name comes from. It swirls from the top to the bottom. The one that I'm making currently that I'm going to turn this afternoon, because after I do this here video part, we're going to go out in my shop and I'm going to turn it. It's sitting there ready to go. The one I'm turning today, this spiral goes halfway up and then it goes the other direction. So it does like a U-turn on it. Other than that, it's going to be very similar to that. To make these Vortex bowls, you got to start out with making like a block. It's kind of like a board from a bowl. So here's the beginning of my block. I have 69 pieces of wood here. They're all like, 3/16 of an inch, quarter inch, somewhere in that area. They don't all have to be the same size. The second one, I actually had some bigger boards in there because I wanted some larger areas of like the Paduke. So I did larger bowls, but this one here, I just did the same pattern over and over and over again. I'm shooting for a 13-inch square block that's 3 inches tall, or at least 3 inches high. So then after that, after I get them all laid out how I want them, then I glue them together in halves. This is half of my current block. I glue them together. I clamp the top and the bottom to try to keep this edge as straight as possible. I always have a problem with one of these or two of these boards or half of them oozing up, sliding up as they're drying. And then when I go to mill it, I lose, a quarter or a half inch off this block. So that's one reason why I start with 3-inch block, just so I have room for waste. So that's half of the block. Here's both blocks glued up. I'm going to plane these down, and then I take my table saw and I true up the center edge. The center of this bowl is this block right there. So I made sure that I was off center. That way when I true this up, I'm not taking away part of my center board and ruining the pattern, because I want this, at least the very center here, to have a nice pattern. So this board right here is the center of this whole block once I glue that up. So first thing I do is plane it down. When I run this through the planer, I have a waste block there. I'm going to save that waste block. I need that waste block later. So, but I run it through and make sure both sides are flat. And so right now they're planed up, they're flat. I could glue this together right now, but I'm going to cut this into layers. And my bandsaw, I do not trust it to cut a 12-inch resaw. It's just not that accurate. As a matter of fact, I have a hard time doing a 6-inch. So I'm going to run this through separately, both the blocks, and then I'll glue it up after I cut all the layers, and then put it back together individually. I saved my waste block here, which is the same height as what's in my hand. There is the block. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that waste block into pieces, and then I'll use that piece to run through my bandsaw when I set my bandsaw up, so I can get an idea of how many layers I'm going to get, and like just a test block, a waste block. I'm going to shoot for 7 layers here. So what I'll do now is I'm going to run that through after I kind of get my blade set up where I think I want it, and see how these all add up. I use the wood slicer blade from Highland Woodworking. It's a super thin blade. It has hardly any kerf. So when I'm cutting these blocks up, I don't have a lot of waste. When I get done here cutting this, I'm gonna stack this up and show how much wood I lost. I cut that into 8 pieces, and I only lost maybe 3/16 of an inch from the cuts. When I cut this big piece up, I don't get 8 pieces. I only get 7, which is really kind of what I wanted anyways, is 7 pieces. So so now that I've got that set up, and I kind of know where I'm at, I'm going to go and slice both of my pieces into 7 pieces here. And this is actually fast motion. This is actually 5 times faster than what I normally cut at. So that's kind of gives you an idea how slow I was going when I cut those. Let's see. I don't think I didn't film all this, so we should be getting to the end of this spot here. So if anybody's got any questions, just raise your hand or say something, and I'll stop the video, and I can answer any questions. Here's the last block. I didn't run through. I realized that I had enough at the bottom to cut 2 more pieces, but at the top it was too thin. So I just left it that thick. I want one piece to be thicker than the rest when I make this. I use that later to true up the bowl as I'm gluing things together. So I was fine with that. So now I'm going to go and glue the other half, or cut up the other half, and then run them through the planer here. I'm going to run these through in pairs. So I'm running through the 2 thickest ones first, and I'm going to stop planing them as soon as they're both smooth on both sides. And then I'm not going to run them through anymore. I'm fine with them being thicker than the rest of them. And then as I run the rest of them through, I'll do the same thing. I'm going to run them through in pairs. As soon as I get a pair that's cleaned up both sides, I'm going to stop turning them. I'm going to stop planing them and set them aside. So I'll have different thicknesses on these layers when I get done, which I'm fine with that. So here's all my layers. I've got there's 6 of them here. The 7th one's off to the side. The top ones are a little thinner than the bottom ones because the top ones I ran through the planer longer to get all the saw marks out. So here's my thickest ones, and I'm going to glue these together now so that I have these layers that I can cut rings out of. So I use Tight Bond 2 glue. I use it for everything. I mean, I have other Tight Bonds around, but Tight Bond 2 is kind of my go-to glue for everything that I'm gluing up here. I'm going to get a lot of glue on these because we're going to cut these into layers. They're going to be kind of thin, and I don't need these coming apart later. So get a lot of glue on them. The board on the bottom here that I'm going to set them on, it's a 2x4. I wrapped it with wax paper so that I can glue these without everything sticking to that. I'm going to get that centered and get that down, and go into my snug these up. Try to get everything level. And then I'm going to put down some wax paper and put another board on top of this that I can pull together the seams. I really don't want, I don't want to have to sand these too much more. I definitely don't want to run them through the planer again. I just want to be able to lightly sand these and then be able to cut them into rings to make the bowl. So I'm clamping the top and the bottom of these, kind of like I clamped the block earlier, to try to keep everything level. So after I get that snug down, then I can snug down the other. And after it's all snug down, it looks like it's level, I can unclamp that and set that one aside. And then I'll go and clamp up the rest of them and get them all drying. So then once they're all dried, here they are all dried. I sanded them all, got the glue off them. So now I have my layers for all my boards. And these layers are all different thicknesses. If you look at it here, you can see on the right-hand side is my thickest one, which I'm fine. I want one thicker. Right next to it is one of the thinner ones, and on the far end is one of the thinner ones. And then another one of the thicker ones I put in the middle because this is going to be a repeating pattern. This is going to repeat 5 times as we stack these up. And just like this side's a pattern, this side's also going to be a pattern in this bowl when we stack it up and cut the rings out of it. So I'm fine with all different levels. I just want to get them severed out, separated so that I don't have 2 thin ones together and I don't have 2 thick ones together. Okay, this is where we're headed to. I'm showing a shot afterwards, and I'm going to show you how we got to this spot. I like to get all my panels laid down there, all my layers. with the thickest one on the top, the way I had them there, and then I'm going to number the corners. 7 is going to be my thickest one because that's going to be the last board that I put on this bowl. That's going to be the top rim. And then 6 would be below that. And then so I number all these and make sure this pattern is the same on all these, kind of like a deck of cards. I want to be able to flip through it and not see that pattern change because when I glue these up, I don't want the pattern to change. It's really important to keep this pattern going. I've marked the center here. There's my center board. I've marked that center on every one of these. And then when I draw these circles, I go down this like 6 o'clock from this mark up here and put a pinprick at all the intersections where I'm going to draw these circles. These are also, these pinpricks I make to draw the circle is the same pinprick I'm going to use to drill holes in this so I can cut this on the scroll saw. So all these, you want all these to be in the same spots on all the boards. So that I use all these, like the drill points. When I drill these, I use that drill mark to line things up later when I'm gluing everything together. So here I'm going to draw the circles. And what you do, you start with your number 7 board and draw the largest possible circle you can get on that number 7 board. That happens to be 12 1/4 inches on this. After I drill that, now I'm going to draw my circles in here, which I made each one of these rings or circles 1 1/16 inches. And I'll explain that in a minute here, how I came to that conclusion. So I'm going to go down here and right down the center of that board, I'm going to put a pinprick at 1 1/16 inches until I get to the center of the board. Well, until I get within 2 inches of the center. I don't need any rings to be less than 2 inches. That's too small to really work with. So I think I get 4 rings out of this larger board with the center disc. So now I'm going to draw all my rings here. So show them all here at 1 1/16 inches. And now I'm getting ready to draw the rings on the next board. And so let me cut to a picture here to show where we're headed with this. This is a schematic of that board. We're going to cut all these rings and we're going to stack them all up. So right now I'm working on the number 7 ring, which is my largest bowl, and it's one of my thicker rings. And I drew the largest possible circle, which is way out here. Because I have 7 layers, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide this 1 1/16 inches into 7. And I use millimeters because it's easier to work with, which comes out to about 4 millimeters. So then this next layer, 6, I will make those circles 4 millimeters less than the top layer. And then the 5 will be 4 millimeters less than the 6. That way I progressively get smaller, and when I get done I can stack these all up. I show my math here. 4 millimeters, I'm going to have 4 millimeter waste on both sides here when I get done gluing them up. So I'm going to have 8 millimeter total waste. 8 millimeters equals 5/16. If I take 5/16 and I subtract that from the 1 1/16 ring that I started with, it gives me a 3/4 of an inch working diameter on this vessel when I go to start turning it. I spent a lot of time thinking about this on the first one I made, like over a week, trying to figure out how to do this, to come up with this measurement. So you can change your 1 1/16. It's going to change the 3/4. So that's how I came up with an 1 1/16. I wanted 3/4 of an inch on this vessel. I want to be able to put a slight curve in this. I don't want this wall to be straight when I turn this. I want a little bit of a bend in this. So 3/4 of an inch gives me room to do that. So let me head on back here to drawing this. So here I'm getting my 1 1/16. I convert my my slide rule there to millimeters. It's 29 millimeters. I divide that by 4, which comes up with 4 millimeter. So then I'm going to take my 4 millimeter and I'm going to go to the largest ring. I'm going to mark that. I'm going to put an indent there. 4 millimeter less, and it's rough. I mean, I'm not exact there. There's probably ways to get that exact, but I'm just getting it close to that. So then what I'm going to do is take my calipers here and I'm going to adjust that to the 4 millimeter less mark, which is right there. And I kind of draw a little circle to see how much smaller it's going to be. So that's 4 millimeters less on this 7. So then I'm going to go to the number 6 board, and I'm going to draw that circle. So here, let me go to the number 6 board. And I've got my pinprick there. So then I'm going to draw that circle. So now number 6 is 4 millimeter less than the number 7 board. And then I'll draw my 1/16 inch and a 1/16 rings all the way down on that. And then I'll measure 4 millimeter less than this circle and transfer that to the number 5 board. And so on until I get them all drawn up. And when I get done, I have all my rings drawn, and every board will be progressively smaller rings than the previous board. That way I can stack them all up. So here I am. I've got them all drawn. I'm showing where I did all my pinpricks down the center here. And that is so important. The very first one of these bowls I made, I did not do that, and I got it all messed up. So this is my way to keep things in order. The next thing that I got to do here that I didn't show is we're going to number all these. So we can, once we cut these, we can number them all. Now the next step is drilling holes in this. And at this point, you might want to do some math before you start drilling holes in these boards. Because at this point, you've probably got about 20 or 25 hours invested in making this block and cutting these all down. So the simple math is, and let me cut back to this other screen. It might be easier to see. This top layer here of all these boards, these are all the largest rings on all 5 of them, or 7 of my boards. All the, like I call them the A rings. And then the B rings are the second one smaller. The 7B ring has to be smaller than the 1A. Catch what I'm saying there? Because we're going on down. So then I start laying up all the B's. This needs to be smaller than the 1A. If you did your math exactly right, it would be 4 millimeters less. If you marked them all and got it through that, I don't know if that's that possible or that important, but that's the math. So what you can do here is take your number 1 and take your number 7 board, and see, I'm showing my second ring on the number 7. That needs to be smaller than the large ring on the number 1. So I take my my calipers and I line it up to the large ring on number 1, and I'm gonna transfer that over to the number 7 board and make sure that the number 7 is smaller. If it's not smaller, or if it's way smaller, then you need to redo your math. You need to redraw the circles. I'm smaller there by maybe 2 millimeter, not very much, but it is still smaller. So I'm comfortable enough that I can drill these holes and cut all these rings out to do the rest of this this glue up. So now I'm going to number all my rings now that I'm ready to cut them, and I'm going to do 7A, 7B, 7C, 7D, and then the middle will be 7E. I didn't write it there, but I will write it later. And I'm going to do that to all the boards. So now I'll go to the number 6, and I'll make that 6A, B, C, D, and E to the center. When you get to the number 3 board here, that center, that last circle is less than 2 inches. It's not really usable. So you don't have to draw that last circle on the number 3 board or the 2 or the 1. Those are, you just leave these discs will be solid. They'll just get stacked up on the bottom at the end. So now I'm going to drill the holes in them. I use an 1/8 inch drill bit. I use these 408 Olsen blades. They're 7 TPI. They're made to cut thick wood. That's the bit I'm going to use, the blade I'll use to saw all these rings up. So now I'm going to drill the holes. Just drill those straight up down. You don't have to do an angle or nothing, because we're just going to stack these things straight up. And now you've drilled holes in it, you've kind of like committed yourself to this is the pattern. So now you can take this to the bandsaw, cut the outside ring off. And then the next step is to sit down at the scroll saw and spend the next 3 hours cutting all these rings out. This is at 5 times the speed that it took me to do this. So it's a slow, tedious job, but it just takes time to do it. So you just sit down, put your headphones on, and spend the morning cutting out all these rings. When you get done cutting all these rings, this is kind of what you got. Here's my 7 bowl, my 7 layer, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1s over on my other bench. I've got them all laid out in order here, because the next step I'm going to do now is I'm going to mark these for my offset. When I glue these up, I'm going to have an offset on the glue. So I want my offset to be 3/4 of an inch. So I've got my drill marks lined up here on all these. I've got my patterns lined up on all the rings, so they're in the exact same pattern. None of them are flipped over. 3/4 of an inch over happens to be where this strip of maple is. So that's my offset on all these rings. So I'm going to go to all the rings now, and I'm going to mark down that 3/4 of an inch. Now I've got all the largest rings from the 1 through 7. I'm sitting on this board here. I've got the mark up, and I've got the number here facing out. So I'm going to get them all in order here with the drill bit mark up, or my other mark up. They're both right next to each other, and lay them all out. So here they are, all laid out, ready to be glued up, except for the ones that we didn't cut holes in the center of. So, and I got them all in order, and at this point you can see if you've got one mixed up, because the pattern's not gonna, it'll stick right out. So you want to make sure you get them all in the right order. That way when you're gluing, you're not trying to flip it over and figure out which way's out. All these other smaller ones, they're going to be the bottom base. Those will stack up all the way down till I get to about 2 1/4 inches. I'm going to make a segmented base that those will glue onto. So these last two I'm not going to use. So I could have not cut the holes in number 4 and 5 also, because those 2 blocks were too small to use. I'm gonna make a segmented base to glue all that up. So there's kind of how that's going to look. So now I'm going to go to my segmented base. I made this segmented base. I didn't show doing this. I just used a wedgie sled, 22.5 degree wedgie sled, and cut those out. It's yellow heart and purple heart. So I'm going to glue that on there. I've got a waste block in there. I'm going to glue this on there. I'll let that dry overnight. The next day I flatten that out, got it level, and then start gluing on my the rest of the rings. So here we are with the rest of the rings. 6 will go on first. I'm going to make sure that 6, the E, is facing my tailstock, and then all the marks will go up. I made another piece out of some of my scrap pieces for the very bottom, because when you look into the bottom of this bowl, I want to see this pattern, not just the straight boards. Typically, you look at the bottom of these Vortex bowls, and the very bottom is just straight boards. There's no flare. So I'm hoping to get that in the right position so that when I cut through this, when I cut that board, I hit that bottom and put this pattern in the bottom of it. So there, now I'm gluing that on, and then I'm going to start gluing on the rest of my pieces here. So 6E, I'm going to make sure my numbers are facing the tailstock. I've got the pinpricks from when I drew the circles that I'm going to use to center these. So I can start putting those on. So there's 6, lots of glue. I'm kind of looking to see if there's something I want to line up or not line it up with. And I'm going to glue that on there. So that's 6E. The next one coming up here is 7E. This is one of our thicker boards. Every time I get to a 7E, I stop for the day, and I let that glue dry up overnight. Right here, I'm getting it set up for my swing. Right now, I've lined it up straight across. So I'm going to give it a 3/4 of an inch offset here by spinning it. Here's my drill mark. I'm pointing out my drill mark from the previous one. So I'm going to move this mark back until it lines up with my drill mark, which will be 3/4 of an inch. And then I'm going to let this dry overnight. And now I'm going to use this to level my bowl. So that's why I wanted a thicker one. Every 7 layers, we're going to stop, let it dry, and then I'm going to level this off, and then start gluing on the layers for the day. So let's say I flatten this down. I get it thinner. I don't get it always thin as the other ones. I don't mind it being thicker. Once again, this is going to be a repeating pattern. So now here's my 1D, which was the centerpiece for number 1. Get my pattern. It's the next day. I can't remember which way I turned this, so I have to think about it. Like, oh yeah, I went this way. So get that set up there, and I'm tighten it up and glue that on there. So then here's 2. Give it a spin. There's 3. Now, that's the last.
Doug, we have a question.
Yes. What's the question?
We have a couple of questions. The first one is that an Excel spreadsheet that you're using
Yes.
to figure out all the?
Yes. I just kind of, it's not accurate, but it kind of gives me an idea, a picture of what it would look like. So yeah, go ahead.
And then Thomas has a question. Thomas, go ahead, unmute your mic.
So I have a question. I've noticed that some of these, some other YouTube videos, they don't glue, they cut them as half rings on the bandsaw and then glue the half rings together.
Yep.
Is there you did it differently?
I glued the rings up together. You can do it either way. I mean, I think the last one I did, I actually did it individually, and I found gluing up those half pieces was not so easy to do, because those rings have flex. You try to pressure them, and you can break them at the seam, or not even break them at the glue joint, but it's thin wood, and you're working with the grain. You can just it could just break. So I like to glue the pieces together. But if you don't have a scroll saw, you can use a bandsaw and cut the whole thing on your bandsaw by doing it half at a time. So, yeah. Okay. So let's see. On our video, we just glued on was there any more questions? No? Okay. We just glued on 3D. So now we're coming up to the rings. So let me show you how I do the rings now. I have a board. I drew all these circles on. I just randomly drew them. They're about 1/4 inch. I stuck it on the lathe, of course, and sanded it down, and then drew the circles. And what I do now is I tape the piece that I'm going to glue on here. I get it centered, and then I have a live center that has a 1/4 inch point on it that I can put the board on, and I can just slide it up and glue that onto my board. So that's how I glued all these together. So here it is. I want to make sure that my number is down because it needs to face the tailstock. So that number goes down, and then I'm going to turn it until my drill mark is like the top of my board from where I'm looking at it. I like to keep everything the same. So I'm going to lay that out so that the drill mark is on the top. My number is facing down. I'm going to tape that on there. I'm going to try to catch the outside 1/8 of an inch. That way it'll keep it outside of my glue joint. So I'm going to glue that on there, or tape that on there, I mean. Put some glue on. I'm generous with the glue. I put it on there and smear it around. I also put some on the other piece, smear it around, make sure I got good coverage, especially on these smaller pieces. There's a lot of bull hanging off these small pieces that you first start making this with. So put some glue on that end. Get my board on there, get my drill mark to the top. Get my drill mark there to the top. So there's my mark, my off-center mark. I'm going to line up my off-center mark to my drill bit, and that gives it 3/4 of an inch. So I'll press it on with my lathe there. Remove the tape. I let these set for 3 or 4 minutes. You see I'm working on something else at the same time, so I'll just walk away and come back after 3 or 4 minutes or and then it should be tacky enough that I can put the next layer on. So here's the next layer. Now I'm putting this in fast motion here. Put some glue on that. Glue that on, line that up, get my offset. Now we're up to the number 7. So this is going to be my last layer for the day. I'm going to get that on there, get it all lined up, and then I'm going to let it set overnight and let it dry. Because tomorrow morning, the first thing I will do will level off that bowl again. I don't want to wait until the end and find out that we're really crooked or off center. So here's the next day. I'm leveling that off. I'm going to turn that down so at this level is the same as my previous 7, which is back here somewhere. Now at this point I want those to kind of be the same, because this is going to be repeating pattern. We're going to do this 5 times. So now I'm gluing them on. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you can see my pattern here going up. 7. Now at this point, I reversed the pattern, and I didn't stop to show that when in the original one, so I stuck this picture in there, but I got up to about halfway, and I started going the opposite way now on my pattern. So I'm going to have a U-turn in there when I look inside the vessel. So here I am putting the rest of them on. And there's the last ring. Oh no, now we're into the last day. Here we're getting into the last rings. There's the last ring. What I was saying earlier, make sure you got a lot of glue. I mean, look at all this bowl, and I'm going to put a rim on this. All that bowl is hanging on these small pieces. You want to make sure you got a lot of glue in there. So don't skimp out on the glue. So I get that on there. I made a rim. I was going to film me cutting that, and I forgot. But I just used my wedgie sled. When I make rings, hang on, let me back up there. Hang on, slow down. I go to this website, www.blocklayer.com. I don't know if everybody's aware of this site, but I found this a 3 years ago. Anytime I do anything segmented, I go to this site. You can select what you're doing here. They have wood turning segments. It's in inches or in metric. So I changed it to inches. You put in how many segments you want, what your radius, and your radius is from center to the outside. So 6.5 radius is 12.5 inches circumference around the outside, or diameter, I mean. And then you put in how thick you want your rings, and then you hit diagrams to PDF, and it makes a really nice PDF page that you can print out that has your wedge, has all the angles in it. It's actual size, shows the ring. It has everything you need to take out into your garage and make this segmented piece. So that's what I use to make my segmented pieces. It works really, really well. And then here I am gluing on my segmented piece. This is kind of a big piece too. This added a lot of weight to the end of this whole bowl. So probably the first thing I do, because this right now is sitting in my shop. So here's the view of my shop. There's that piece sitting there. I'm going to put a 5-minute timer on here, and I'm going to head out to the shop. And when this timer ends, I'll cut to our shop, and I'll be up there to turn this thing. So here's 5 minutes. Everybody has a 5-minute break. You can use the restroom, get yourself a cup of coffee, whatever you need to do, because that's what I'm going to do. And when we come back, I'll be in the shop. And Fred, you'll be in total control. You'll need to spotlight my camera, or whatever you.
I have you spotlighted right now.
Okay. And if we have any issues, yeah, I did load up Zoom on that computer up there. So if we have issues, I might dial in on Zoom. You might have to find me in the Zoom room and opening back up that way. But we'll try this way first and see how it works. This is our first shot. All right, and then you'll have to watch for questions just like earlier. I'm going to miss them. So if there's a question, you'll have to let me know. Okay?
Will do.
See you in 5 minutes. In 4 minutes and 4 seconds.
Yes. And I'd cue up the Jeopardy song for everybody, but I don't have it. So get that song worm in your head and take a break.
Hey, Fred, I might take a minute. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. You want to turn up your volume just a little bit?
How's that? Any better?
Yeah, that's good. Rudy, want me to highlight you or just
No,
go ahead?
It
Just
doesn't
go
matter.
ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to apologize for being late. I had a phone call about photography job, and I had to keep on with it, trying to get over here. But anyway, I may have to cut out because I actually have to get another couple of calls for some business stuff. But
Okay.
just wanted to say hello and appreciate the invite as always.
And Rudy, you're going to be doing an interview, you and Trent Bosch, Monday morning at 10 o'clock. So I'm hoping all the members here tune in. We'll be sending out notice Monday morning, and I imagine you have quite a bit to tell us Monday morning.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Trent's doing a really neat thing for a lot of turners, and he's hosting a demo for me, and I'll be doing just a teaser. I'll be doing one of my crotchwood wing platters next Tuesday, so we'll give you the information on Monday. I appreciate you guys doing this too, for sure.
How many spaces do you have left for that demo?
Last night I sent out a big blast, and there was 23 spaces left.
So if you would share that information with me, myself and Doug, we'll get that out to the membership also so they can check it out.
Okay, I'll do it. And I know probably some of you guys have received it from Trent because I know you participated in some of his previous demos before. So.
Okay, fantastic. And I think Doug is almost ready. And he still has 2 minutes to get ready. But thank you for calling in, Rudy, and we appreciate your participation with our club meetings, both the Grand River Woodturners and the West Michigan Woodturners.
I really enjoy it, and like we were talking about yesterday, I think this has really been fun for me. And I mentioned that in my little blast I sent out last night. For those people that haven't done it, I'm trying to encourage people to do it because it's really neat to see all of the people that I've met over all the years. And I don't ever get to see, years and years go by, and maybe in the next symposium I get to see people. But this is really neat. I've really enjoyed this.
Yes. And I'm going to take a second to segue because Doug still is about a minute and 15 seconds away. A lot of members probably are wondering where we're going with COVID and stuff. We don't know, but we know we're going to try to continue having meetings with Zoom. And hopefully by doing some of these extra things with our professional turners around the nation and also overseas with now Great Britain, the members see value in their club and continue supporting it, despite the fact that COVID is, throwing a curve at us. So I hope everybody is excited about what we're trying to do despite COVID. So appreciate it. Go ahead, Rudy.
I appreciate it, Frederick. I will add that if it wasn't for COVID, not that there's any maybe good coming out of this, but I would have never started doing this because, as you know, I've had dial-up DSL, a lot of you know, and it just wouldn't function well, and I never pursued it. But having this situation, I was able to start pursuing and pushing our local fiber company, Verizon, and was able to get this, and now I'm up and running with it. So it's really been somewhat of a blessing because when everybody pulled out of everything I had set up for the year, I had absolutely zero going on. So this has been just outstanding.
Yes, and it looks like Doug is ready. Thank you, Rudy.
Yeah. Has it been 2 minutes? Did my screen come on?
Exactly. I'll tell you what, you are good, Doug.
I had that on a remote control, but I couldn't see that from here. Hey, Rudy, I hear you're in the room?
I did, man. I apologize to everybody. Like I said, I got here a little late. I had a photography business call first thing this morning, which ran for almost an hour. But I'm enjoying the demo so far. This is really good. I've sort of had an understanding on how this is done. Maybe I will never do this, but it is really, really interesting, and your process is very, very well done.
I stole your camera idea after we talked yesterday. I saw that you had your camera mounted to your light.
Yeah.
I thought, hey, that's a good idea. So,
You like
yeah, so I stole that idea from you.
That's what we're here, man. Sharing. It works really well.
Yeah, I know.
It's pretty cool.
We're going to share ideas here.
Just gotta move this thing around.
Okay. Let's see. Before I get started here, you can see on here I have my largest rubber chucky jumbo chuck that I'm going to use to shore up the inside of this. So when I'm turning the outside, I'm going to. Do you guys hear that echo? Or is it just me? Okay, it's just me. I'm going to use this to stop the vibration when turning the outside, and then I'm going to use my my Carter steady rest to shore up the outside when I turn the inside. So I don't want any vibrations in here. So that's going to be the way to try to cut down on vibration. So let me get that in there. I've got all my bowl gouges sharpened up. And probably the first thing I'm going to do is start with my 1/2-inch bowl gouge. It's a V cut, and I'm going to try to nibble away some of this mass up here. This is really big, and it's not completely level. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut away that to reduce some of the vibration that I'm going to get from this. Let's see what we got here.
Hey, Doug.
Yes.
Before you get started, there's a little bit of a problem with your picture-in-picture. The view that we're looking at you turning has actually got your chair in front of it. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but we're not looking at you so much as your chair.
My chair downstairs?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to miss a little bit of what you're doing.
Okay, hang on. Let me
I'm
go downstairs and see what's
Jay
up with
from
that.
Detroit. I'm actually looking straight down at the piece. I don't see a chair.
Well, he's got a picture-in-picture, and the straight-down picture is good, but the one of him looking straight at him has got his chair back in.
Okay,
Doug,
I'm just seeing the piece itself.
Doug, your overlay of your chairs over your pick and pick on your smaller pick and pick.
Okay. All right, hang on. Let me run downstairs to see if there's an overlay on.
Thanks for bringing that up. I was watching the main picture there.
Hey, Rudy, you still there?
Rudy's no longer in the room.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, Don, I'm still here. I just had my mic muted, couldn't respond.
That's got it, Doug.
Oh, okay. Hey, Rudy, give me a call
All right.
later, will you?
Okay, I'll do it.
Thanks.
Okay, now can everybody see everything? Everybody can see you, Lynn?
Looks good, Doug.
Yes? Okay. All right, here we go. Any other questions? No? Okay.
Hey Doug, what kind of speed are you running?
Right now I'm at 835. And I just have a slight vibration, so this is good. Hang on, let me reposition that a little bit here.
Might take a little bit more off that. This is my robust. This is my robust 5/8 bull gouge. I love it. It's a really nice bull gouge. It's a parabolical flute, so it does a really nice job. And you can get this from Don Doyle from Rubber Chucky. That's where I got this one from. Was from Don. So if you're ready for a new bull gouge, get a hold of Don. He'll set you up. Cutting up here was easy because this is segmented block. This is side grain. I get into this area here, and I don't know if you can see it. Once you get into this area here, this is a lot of end grain. This is the same as any other bowl. There's a lot of end grain there that we're dealing with. So it starts to chatter as soon as I hit this area here. So I'm going to go slow. All right, what do we got? Yeah.
Question. It says he's pushing down the bowl where usually I work up the bowl on the outside. Is he just doing that since it is easier access right now? Since it is dry, is supporting fibers less important?
Because of the way this is glued up, everything is kind of, the support really doesn't matter. We got such small pieces here that I don't think it really matters. But once I get my shape here, I will take a final cut from the bottom up to try to get a little better of a cut. But I don't know if that's making a big difference right now. But also, I want to get this top turned while I still have mass at the bottom here. I don't want to cut away this and make this thinner yet, because this is supporting all this top part. So I really want to get my top almost down before I start cutting away this very bottom and making this small and having it to support the rest of this bowl. So yeah, I'm going downhill now until I get. Go ahead.
So you're minimizing vibration, right, and cavitation by leaving the bulk in the bottom yet?
Yes. I'm gonna get most of this cut before I get too much down here. At least get past all these grooves, because I have grooves here, glue joints and stuff that I want to get cleaned out before I remove too much at the bottom here. It's kind of like when I do a vessel. When I do a vessel, the last thing I do is turn the bottom. Because you got all this vessel hanging out here. So usually I'll get the whole vessel done, and then I'll come outside and finish the last couple inches out here. This doesn't make a lot of difference because I'm already really thin here, but I think any little bit of support I have, I want to keep. Okay? Trying to get the camera where you can see what I'm doing here.
That's it so far, Doug.
And I think now I can crank up the speed a little more. I'm up to about 1100 right now. Now I'm checking out my curve here. I want to start working into a curve. Starting from my outside rim here, I want a nice curve through this whole bottom here. So I'm gonna start working on that curve just a little bit. All right, now we can get a look at what this pattern is looking like here. Looking
Need to
good.
focus a little bit.
Is it out of focus?
A little bit, yep.
Is it focused
There you
now?
go. Yep.
I still don't have my curve like I want it. I need to bring in a little more in this section here. I think I still got a lot to work with. I think I still way over a ½ inch thick. So yes.
Question?
Okay.
It's coming in from Doug Smith. It says, I noticed Doug changes left-hand position from time to time. Is that for a different types of cup being made? I should have said left-hand grip.
It's just so that I can go uphill. You know, then this is kind of my best cut is going to be to go this direction. So you kind of got to be able to go both ways as a wood turner. You know, when you're turning, to be able to get in there. Plus, it's to get in here, I almost have to get this bottom from left-handed because I've got stuff in the way here. So when I get this very bottom piece here, I'm going to come in here left-handed too and swing this out. So it's just to get the best cut, you got to be able to go left and right-handed. So right now I'm going to come up.
Doug Smith, did that answer your question?
Hopefully that's a yes. Okay. All right. I'm getting close to my curve here. You guys can't probably see that very well, but it's got a fairly nice curve. I just want to get a little more of a slope here. I've got a high spot here that I want to take out. And I have some tear out in some areas here, so I'm hoping if I go the other direction here, I can remove some of that tear out. Yes.
Jeff Brill has a question
Yep.
for you. Go ahead,
Okay, Jeff.
There we go. I just wondered if you could hold a straight edge along it, and it would help us to see the curve.
Just put the tool rest up.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
I have just a slight curve on there.
Just, yeah, you can't give much. Okay.
No, I
thanks.
can't get a whole lot.
Yep.
Oh. Okay, now you can see I got a little more of a curve on that. But we're probably only 1/8 of an inch from inside to outside, you know, on this part. So I'm going to cut a little more on the bottom of this, and then I'll be going to the inside, I think. Well, I guess I got to cut this rim up here yet. So. Hope I didn't get through it all. Yeah, I got a little farther. I got a flat spot here I got to get through. Okay, I still got a little bit there, but I'm going to come back in on that so that this bottom has an angle on it. So I think I'll end up taking that out. Plus, I'm going to take off some of this bottom too. So bottom of my bowl will probably be 1/8 inch less than what this glue block is. And it makes me a little nervous. I got a gap there with no glue in it. So, and I got one mark right here, which incidentally, right above where my rubber chucky is on the inside, you can tell where the vibration starts, because as soon as I get above that spot out here, I got a vibration spot here. I might see if I can clean that up with a scraper. All right, that's pretty good. All right, now I'm going to get this top rim a little more. I got some flat spots out here. I still have some tape. And then we'll go to the inside. Still got a couple splat spots here. Still got a couple of flat spots. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to, I think at this point I'm going to hook up my steady rest on the outside here. And I'm going to do that while I still have my rubber chucky in here supporting it. That way I'm not moving this and changing my, my center point here. So. So now would be a great time for questions. Anybody got a question?
No, but I got a comment, Doug, if I can.
Go ahead.
We're hooking up the Carter Steady Rest. I've been working with the vendors who are taking part in the retreat again this year. I'm trying to get them to extend the discount so that y'all can take part in the buying process. that the retreat would normally have. The discount from Carter was huge. I'm working with them on it and contacting other vendors. So watch for that announcement too as we get closer to what would have been the date for the retreat.
Yes, that's when I buy most of my Carter.
Doug, have
Go
you ever
ahead.
screwed one of these up after all this work?
No, this is only my third one, but I'm really nervous every time I do them.
It scared the death out of me.
Yeah, I mean, you just got so much time into it, you know.
Doug Smith back here again. Doug, sorry I didn't ask my question well enough the first time. My question was referring to the position you hold your tool rest, your tool with the left hand. I notice sometimes that your fingers are underneath it with just your thumb above it, and then other times your hand is completely over the top of the tool with your thumb under it. And is there a reason for that?
Most of the time I have my hand, I know exactly what you're talking about. Most of the time I like to cut with my hand under, and I'm just guiding along. If my tool feels like it's bouncing, if the bowl starts chattering, then I'm going to put my hand on top and I'm just holding it down to the tool rest to stop the vibration and the chatter. And it helps to decrease the chatter in the wood. So, but I most of the time I like to just let the gouge just do the work. You know, as long as there's no chatter and it's sharp right now, I need to sharpen all these real quick. But if they're sharp, then it doesn't matter. But as I get farther and farther into it, I got to start holding the bowl gouge down because it's dull and it's starting to chatter, and I don't want it to bounce.
Okay, that explains it. Thank you.
Yep.
Doug,
Yeah.
this seems to be a project that takes a lot of time. Have you thought at all
Yes.
about what you'd have to charge to sell one of these?
$1,000, I think.
Yep. Yep.
Because I think I have about 40 to 50 hours at each one.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
And I'm trying to get 3 of them. I know. I truly believe you have to have 3 of something to sell one. So your customers have to have a choice. So I feel like I got to have 3 of these if I ever do the show.
Okay.
And I'll be lucky to sell one.
John has a question for you. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I was just curious, when you set up the steady rest that way, when you're mounting those wheels on an angle, does that put a lot of outside force on those rings?
Well, I'm not putting it that tight, and I don't know if you can see this here, but what I do is, can you see the wheel down here?
Yeah.
That one there?
Yeah.
I kind of put tension on the wheel and I spin this, and if the wheel skips, like right there just skipped, and I'm not putting a lot of tension on, I'm just putting a little on, then I'll just tighten it up at that spot where it skips. But I'm not like really putting pressure on it. I'm just kind of snugging it up. If you put a lot of pressure on it, and I had a cheaper set of steady rest beforehand with I think they had cheaper wheels on them, like rollerblade wheels. I think these are better quality than rollerblade wheels, but it wore the wheel out. You know, if you get it too tight, it just wears out the wheel and leaves a gummy rubber all over everything. So I'm just kind of going through all 3 of the rollers, and I'm just putting a little bit of pressure on it, and I'm spinning to make sure they feel like they have fairly good contact, but I don't have excessive pressure on them. So I'm happy with that right now the way it is. So I'm going to pull out my rubber chucky. I'm going to get this out of the way.
Hey, Doug,
Yeah.
which jumbo chucky did you use?
I use the flat one.
Oh. Okay, the no-nos. Okay.
I like the no-nos. I have lots of your Chuckies, but I tend to use the no-nos for some reason. I like them better. I don't know why. Less weight maybe. So, but that did the job though. That kept the vibration down. I mean, otherwise, if I have to go with bigger now, I'll have a hunk of wood I stick in there, but the hunk of wood never goes in vibration free. It seems like there's always a vibration when I get done if I'm just using a hunk of wood. So let me.
Yeah, the other ones seem to work better for smaller openings.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I need it bigger. I use I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's a Robo Hippie rest. I like the Robo Hippie rest. They're really solid. I like the way they're bent. They seem to.
I have all three of those. I really like them too.
Yeah, I have two of them, and then I have a few other. I have a smaller robust that I like. So let's see. Can you guys see that? If I get in there, yes, you can. Let's see. I've got to sharpen my tools real quick here, so let me run through and sharpen these. If you have any more questions, now would be a great time. This is only going to take me a minute here. So yeah, Ron was talking about the discount for the Carter tools. I have bought most of my Carter tools at Ron's retreat just because of the discount. It's huge. It makes them really affordable.
Doug, there are many people that came to the retreat just for the discount.
Yeah, I can see why.
Doug, Travis Hanson. Do you have any problems? Do you have any problems with the steady rest wanting to skate uphill on an inclined surface?
It probably is tending to, but I double tighten every one of these screws I can, so it's not going to be easy for it to move very far. I haven't noticed it skating uphill. It seems like it would want to skate downhill. Okay, so everything ready here. Let's see how this looks. Of course, we're incorporating a little more noise into the whole system here. About 1,050 RPMs. And right now we're about 1/4 inch thickness here. So, and I got a little bit of a ridge right there. So I'm going to take that ridge out, and then I'm going to take one pass, and then I'm going to continue on down. I'm going to work in sections here, just like I would a natural edge bow. I'd always work at the top and work my way down. Once I get past here, I don't plan on coming back. So. Yep, and this is going really good. I like the way it feels here. So let me get this in there. And I might need to move this just a little bit so I don't get in the way.
Doug?
Yes.
That last cut, was your tool almost horizontal at the top? Looked like you were getting a really sheer cut.
Yeah, I tend to do that. I tend to get in there and ride it right on the very edge of it.
On the edge, yes.
Yeah. It looks like I'm about ready to get it. Looks like I'm on the edge of a really bad catch, right?
Well, you just have to be very, very careful.
Yeah.
Doug.
So, yes.
Doug,
Yes.
what type of grind do you have on your gouge?
These are Ellsworth grinds, I would guess you'd call that. If you can see it there.
You need to switch to your close-up camera, Doug, to show your gouge.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I had it on there. You're right. Okay. Yeah. Here's the grind on that. Is it an Ellsworth grind? Hang on, I have a spot here. I need to mark with my pencil because once this fires up, once it fires up, I can't tell where I've been. So I'm really good up to about right here, and then there on up, I'm a little thick. So I need a mark in there so I can go. And I'm changing my bow gouge just because I want a sharp one. So I'm changing to my robust gouge, which the other one was a V cut. This is more parabolic, it's a little easier for me to get in here and start making these bends. So. Okay. Now I'm gonna take out my line there. So the rest of it I kind of like. Well, now I'm kind of up to this spot right here. So. Just a little bit of a high spot. Yeah, so right now I'm just marking my high spots. I want to take these out before I get too far to the bottom, because the farther I get to the bottom, the more of this up here is going to be resonating if I try to cut it. So. Okay, as we go farther into the rabbit hole here, okay. I'm trying to get to I'm trying to get to this piece right here on the inside, because this is the piece that I put that funky pattern on that I want to show through the bottom. So I'm not there yet. I'm at least an inch away. I might not make it. We'll see. But that's where I'm trying to get to. So. Well, there's your catch. Trying to get down to that bottom piece, which I don't think I can get there because I'm still an inch from it. So I guess I'm going to have to just clean this up and it'll be good. Yep, and that was what I didn't want, was to have a straight pattern like that at the bottom. I was hoping to, whoops, can you see that? And that's what's on the bottom of all these bowls when you see them. They have just that straight grain. I was trying to get to that other piece, but I'm still 2 layers. I'm right here. Yeah, when you look at the outside here, I'm up to this layer right now. And maybe this one, but I've got to get through 2 more to get to this one, so I'm not going to get there. So I'm going to have to settle for this the way it is. I don't want to part this off until I can sand it all. So, but I can. You see the pattern in there? It's a nice pattern. I don't really see my U shape. Somehow I missed out on that. I don't get why I don't see that. But on the outside, I can see it more than the inside. You can see the where it takes a U-turn right here. But on the inside, it's well, you can see it a little bit there. Okay, well that's as far as I'm going to go today because I want to sand this up before I do anything else. Are there any questions? Is everybody there?
Yes, I'm here, Doug.
Oh, okay. It's really quiet. I thought maybe we lost the connection.
We're here.
Okay.
Looks good to me.
So yeah, can you see that?
Nice
Like,
work.
thanks. So
I was talking to Doug.
Doug, where did you start your U-turn at?
halfway up. If you look on, let me go to this camera. If you look at right here, you can see that it got there and then I went back. So I'm about halfway up. So if I put that spot on the inside here, it's right there. Well, hang on, let me go to the inside now. If I go to the inside, right here is where it turns around, but it's not so obvious on the inside that it went the other direction. Well, you can see it on these bigger blocks, I guess, that now they're going the other way. So
Yeah, looks good.
You can see it from farther away, Doug.
you're right. Now that I stand back and look at my computer, I can see it. So yeah, any questions? So everybody, you got 1 month, so let's see you make one for next month. Bring it to the meeting.
Great job, Doug.
It'll take more than a month just to do all the prep work.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's about it. So let me head on back downstairs because we have some prizes to give away.